tuned in to DAR Sports Media. It is Football Friday. Me and Tay and many other late arrivals. You know how some people in the NFL time, they show up whenever they show up to camp. That's kind of how we roll here on DAR sometimes. We are here with the next most intriguing draft classes other than the southern divisions, the NFC and AFC North. Obviously, the big one, NFC North, Chicago Bears. I guess depending, Tay, on what you feel about Caleb Williams as a prospect is where you would rank this draft class. Because to me, if you really feel like Caleb Williams is a franchise quarterback, then you got to give this class like an A, because they're suddenly kind of loaded, suddenly kind of competitive in that division. I've expressed my feelings on Caleb Williams before right here on this pod, but for the sake of going with what the majority says to accurately grade this draft class, I mean, you get your quarterback at 1, you get a possible near future wide receiver 1 at the number 9 spot, one of the better receivers in this class. I don't see how you could say anything other than these guys, then they crushed it. Everything worked out from that trade, and Bears looking good going forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I was a big fan of the Bears draft. I don't know why they drafted a punter. I'm always I always question.
Yep. And in the
drafting.
4th round,
I always question,
that's
especially
bananas.
A punter. I always question that. A kicker, okay, I guess. That's a cocky pick. That's what contenders do.
Yeah.
The roster is good. They can just really do whatever. That was that right there. But
and y'all were not even a playoff team last year.
That's definitely a cocky pick. But outside of that, I do like what they did with the 5 picks they had. I feel like they really didn't have a choice. You have to go Caleb Williams at 1. I think Caleb Williams will be franchise quarterback, be the first Bears franchise quarterback in forever. Past 20 years, I'd say. So I think that'll be a great pick, great situation, solid line, great receiving core. They're gonna run the ball too. They got Cole Kmet at tight end. It's a great situation for a young quarterback. So I'm definitely a fan of the Caleb Williams pick. And then Roma Doomsday, kind of feel bad for him in the first year, but then again, what better is it to learn from DJ Moore and Keenan Allen? I don't know how long Keenan Allen will be here.
Low pressure.
Yeah, but I mean, he can. It's a learning year. They're not asking 1,500 from him. No, not at all. Not nothing like that. But it's going to be a learning year
too, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe if they can move on from Keenan Allen maybe next year, then he comes Rome just fills his spot, and but I mean it's really no pressure for him, like you said. I really did like that pick. I think pretty much everyone knew if he fell there at 9, they were going with that. Makes a lot of sense. Just help your help your rookie quarterback. And then it was a for the future pick too. It wasn't that's not a this year pick. They didn't need to do that, but for the future, it's kind of smart, just to get a guy like Rome. So I was a big fan of that. And they got they just pretty much got depth picks after that. They got tackle, even after going tackle last year, they got the punter like we already talked about. And I mean, it's whatever, and they got an edge. I'm guessing he went in the 5th round. I'm guessing I guess he's gonna come and be a rotational edge rusher. Maybe he could be on the opposite side of Montez Sweat. Who knows? But I definitely did like what the Bears did. outside of the punter pick. I feel like if they got something different from the punter pick, like maybe an interior defensive lineman, that would have been smart. But yeah, I definitely get the Bears an A.
So the other one that stood out to me is, we were deep in discussion last year. And I was on here passionately defending, and I still cannot believe, and I will still rant about it for however long, about how people thought they had something to say about the Houston Texans draft last year. About how right up to draft week, it was like, oh my God, what choice were they? If they're forced to make a choice, who are they going to pick between Will Anderson and CJ Stroud? Who are they going to pick? And then they managed to get both. And people still found a way to fucking bitch about it. And I will not let it go. This year, kind of a diet version of that, a little bit less sugary, but still impressive to me, is the Minnesota Vikings, who managed to get the quarterback that they liked. It's not quite the same caliber of a prospect as CJ Stroud. I don't think anybody thinks that. Well, actually, a couple of people who I know who know ball might think that. But they got the quarterback that they like, and they got the number one, well, arguably the number one edge rusher in the class in Dallas Turner. So I love that the Vikings, they stockpiled those picks, but then they did good things with them. They addressed the two primary things that they had to address coming into this class. And as you have said often, this is a phenomenal situation for JJ McCarthy to come into. Again, we're talking about this division. That's another team. It's going to be very interesting because you could see really, and I'm excited for in July when we'll be talking about this and doing our previews when camps open. All four of these teams could be 10-win teams, I think. If the right things pan out, if Caleb Williams pans out, if JJ McCarthy pans out, the Packers already got the improvement that they showed last year. And then, of course, we saw the Lions were one half of football away from the Super Bowl. All four of these teams could possibly be 10-win teams. Very exciting. I like what the Vikings did. What do you think of the Vikings draft?
I like the fact that they did not trade up to pick 5 or 4, like what we were hearing. I like the fact they didn't trade 3 first. It makes the JJ McCarthy pick a lot better. Like, I think they traded like day 3 picks to move up one spot from 11 to 10, just pretty much swap with the Jets. Yeah, it was really, it's different. It's different from drafting a quarterback at 4 or 5 than to get him at 10. 10,
yeah,
I feel like, we don't need to rush it. Like, if they think Sam Darnold can just be serviceable for this year, I say go with Sam Darnold and then see what because JJ McCarthy, he's young. Like, a lot of the quarterbacks are older. I think he is the youngest quarterback that got drafted, but I definitely do. I like how the Vikings, they stayed put, and then when they got to the Jets pick for they were aggressive, traded up a pick just so like a team like the Raiders or Broncos were just stop them from jumping them and them not getting the guy they wanted. So yeah, I do like that. I do like how they stayed put, and it gives the Vikings like more options. If you draft the guy at 5, you trade 3 first, like that's like now, like, we need this guy to pan out immediately this season. No, but they didn't do that. So that's a W for the Vikings, and just getting the edge rusher. After losing to Neil Hunter, Dallas Turner, I think Dallas Turner can be great, very athletic. Probably one of the fastest edge rushers in the class. I definitely did like that, and after that, they had no second or third round picks. They traded for him. They traded him away and whatnot. But yeah, one of my guys that I like Kyrie Jackson from Oregon, 6'4", 195. I mean, just that alone, you got the right defensive coordinator, you got the right
Both good
coach.
fits. Yeah, both good fits for that defensive
Yeah,
system. Absolutely.
that could be great. Like that's not their strong suit. Like corner, just it's not something that like that's their strong
Yeah.
suit. They couldn't use a corner. That's why they took that with their third draft pick in their in their draft or whatever. But I definitely do like that. I think Kyrie Jackson would be great. Had him going earlier than the fourth round, but yeah, to get him in the fourth round, 6'4", 195, that's just kind of like why not? Like if you see that, like there is some big corners like that. That's kind of what teams are looking for. Big corners are, I would say, they're kind of the wave. Like if you have a big corner like that, it's just a lot easier. Just to stop the big receivers and whatnot. Like they're just as tall. You know, it's definitely something to watch for. Yeah, so I definitely did like the Vikings draft a lot. It's kind of top heavy. I mean, they had two first, and then it
Yeah,
goes all the way to fourth.
but if they hit on two of those, that's two of the top, four most important positions in football. So
Yeah, that's true.
not mad at it. So I do want to ask your opinion, and I'm sure I think I know what your answer is because you're all about the youth movements. For the longest time, it was kind of like, okay, if we're starting a rookie quarterback, like it's already like we're not going to the Super Bowl. It's not happening because no rookie quarterback has ever made it to the Super Bowl. But I think a lot of people think that we were about to see one go to the Super Bowl the year Brock Purdy was a rookie. We all know the rest. He blew out his elbow, but I don't think that anybody thought like, okay, if the Vikings or if the 49ers don't win that game, I don't think anybody expected it to be because Brock Purdy was a rookie. You know what I mean? So do you think that that's kind of a thing of the past? JJ McCarthy is on a similarly stacked roster. Great receiver duo, great offensive line, great play caller. Do you think the if we have a rookie starting, we're automatically not going to the Super Bowl? Do you think that's over?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I'm glad you said Brock Purdy. He's an example. He got pretty close. CJ Stroud got pretty close last year. Like it's just becoming more and more frequent that these rookies are getting closer and closer. Because all you have to do is just have a good core around them. Like obviously, a rookie quarterback's not going to take a 2-15 team. No line, no receiver. Like obviously not. But if the quarterback has the right foundation, as in some kind of a decent line, definitely wide receivers, a run game, kind of like what the
And
Texans.
especially
I wouldn't say the run
if
game.
they're experienced.
Yeah,
Brock
like
Purdy was very experienced. CJ Stroud was pretty experienced.
yeah, like I don't think JJ McCarthy is that kind of guy.
Is going to be that guy? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so because they still have to go through the 49ers. I think the Eagles are going to be good this year. Like I don't think JJ McCarthy's the guy, but it could definitely happen. Like I don't think it'll be Caleb Williams either, but I do think Caleb Williams is a talent that could do that. I don't see the Bears.
It's just going to be tough. Yeah, it's a tough.
Yeah,
tough
I'm not saying the Bears are going to do that, but I'm saying a guy like him, can do something like that. I don't think JJ McCarthy. I don't know how many games he's going to play this season. If you were just asking about JJ McCarthy specifically, I don't know how many games he's going to play.
Because
but just, overall,
the AFC team for team, I don't mind saying that they're the better conference, but the top of the NFC is a brick wall between the Niners, between the Lions, between the Eagles. You're gonna have a real tough time against those rosters with a rookie quarterback. Yeah. So absolutely. Lions addressed their two biggest their biggest need. They needed corners, and they took two highly ranked ones, and Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw Jr. A lot of people like that draft. It's a little scary for me when you're drafting for need at a position like corner. Because that's such a hard transition. Very easy to get out there and get toasted up, lose your confidence. But in the end, they got two high-ranked players at a need position, so you can't be too mad at them, right?
Yeah. That was obviously their biggest need, and they doubled down on it, pretty much giving them insurance. Like, hey, if Terrion Arnold, if he gets hurt or he's just not good, they have another option to go to. This, I would say, almost as talented in this Ray Shaw Jr. You know, they're both boundary corners. I believe they have Carlton Davis. Yeah, and he has injury issues too. So there could be a world where both of them play at the same time. You know, if Carlton Davis gets hurt like he always does. Yeah, I was a fan of that. That was their need. The Lions team does not have many needs. Like, honestly, just seeing them last year, that's really what it was. They need corners. Like, you know, like the line's good. Their quarterback is solid. Running back duo is probably the best in the league. Like, just, you know, they need to do that. Like, this is the kind of team that could afford to take two corners in a row. Like, why not? You know,
not really any weaknesses anywhere else.
And then I want to talk about the fourth round offensive tackle they picked.
Yeah,
6'8", 350. I am a fan of that.
Sleeper. Yeah,
I like that. Like, because they don't need him to play right now. The line is just fine. But if this coaching staff feels like they can develop 6'8", 350, develop a guy like this.
Giovanni Manu from British Columbia played college football in Canada.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Like, I like that. He's not gonna play this year. He's not gonna play. He probably won't play next year. But just in years future, we have to start paying guys stuff like that. You know, see what you got. You know, I like that pick a lot. I like when teams have picks like this, project players like this. That could be all pro. Like the size alone, just like you don't see that often. I can't name too many 6'8", 350 guys. Like. Yeah, so I like the Lions had a great draft too. They were in position to draft like this though, take two corners and it just jump to a project like that. The fourth rounders for the Lions weren't really going to help them necessarily. So yeah, and both their fourth round picks, Sione Vaki took a safety, didn't really need, and you know they got Brian Branch last year. I don't think they're looking to replace him. And they said he might be playing some running back because he played running back in college. You know, they're just that's just the Dan Campbell way. You know, like go for it. They just went for it this draft. So I mean, I trust it. I trust the Lions been drafting great the past few years. So yeah, I trust it.
Packers, nothing that's like spicy or jumps off the page. A bunch of solid players: Javon Bullard, Marshawn Lloyd, running back, Edge Cooper, Texas A&M. What I will say though is this offensive tackle they picked in the first round, Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. If you check out his tape, you will see him matched up against a lot of the biggest names in this class, and he's locking them down. He's kind of an underrated prospect in my mind coming into this class. So the Packers, at a huge area of need, might have secured a sleeper there. What did you think of Jordan Morgan, the Panthers? Excuse me, the Packers. Maybe some of the other guys they got.
Yeah, I like Jordan Morgan. You know, you feel like I know Jordan Love is a franchise quarterback. You know, protect the franchise quarterback. Get the security blanket that your franchise quarterback may need. So they spend their first round pick on it. We all know the Packers don't go wide receiver first round. That's just not something they do. They don't. They feel like they didn't need a corner either here. So yeah, you know, why not protect your quarterback? It's kind of reminds me what the Chargers did. Like you got a franchise quarterback, you just protect him at all costs. So and I think Jordan Love is a franchise quarterback for the next 10 years. So yeah, I was a big fan of that pick. Edgerrin Cooper, a lot of people's LB1. He just feels a need for him. You know, they got Quay Walker and just gonna plug in Edge Cooper, you know, have him off ball, just doing whatever, you know, blitzing, stuff like that. That was a solid pick. And Javon Bullard to play with Xavier McKinney. Pretty cool. I like that. I definitely do like that. I like his coverage. And then on top of that, he's a big hitter, which isn't really common anymore. I'm gonna like seeing that. And I was kind of surprised when Marshawn Lloyd picked, though. I was like, I don't know, Josh Jacobs, kind of confusing, but we'll see. We'll see in that. I think the Packers did okay. Like, I don't know, maybe throw in the corner somewhere. They did all right.
I'm excited to talk about this. I mean, it was a perfect pick. I can't believe we weren't laughing about it in the group chat. Because I guess there's a reason that maybe Axe is hiding out tonight. Because your most hated team picked one of your most hated prospects. In the first round, the Baltimore Ravens selected Nate Wiggins at corner from Clemson. Otherwise, though, they kind of crushed it. Roger Rosegarten in the second round. That was a person who a lot of people were hoping to see go to the San Francisco 49ers. They snagged him right before they picked. TJ Tampa all the way in the fourth. I thought TJ Tampa might be a second or third round pick. So incredible value right there. Of course, it's the Ravens, so they got to get at least one. I would say that both Rosegarten and TJ Tampa were good value picks because there were some people who had Rosegarten on the radar for the 49ers in the first round. So we talk about impact starters. I don't know. You're probably not going to think that Nate Wiggins is going to be an impact starter, but he will be a starter. So that's 3. So I can't hate too much on this draft. Nate Wiggins in Baltimore, matching up against old Joe Burrow twice a year.
I'll say this. So everything back to a few years ago, Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey's best seasons, when he was forcing those fumbles, were in the slot. It came to a point in time where they started to lose corners. People started to leave the team. Then he had to go outside. He's talented enough. They pay him to play every position as a corner. So they did that. This drafted Nate Wiggins, it makes them better. Moving Marlon Humphrey back inside. I think that's what they'll do, especially drafting TJ Tampa. I think having Nate Wiggins and TJ Tampa on the outside, it just makes they're gonna have the best slot corner in the league. Marlon Humphrey. It just drafting Nate Wiggins helps them out. And I think this was the perfect place for Nate Wiggins to go. Baltimore, they just know how to get the best out of you on defense. I wouldn't say that about offense. The wide receivers they draft, I wouldn't say that. But defensively, the Ravens know how to pull all the talent out of you. So Nate Wiggins, if there's a team that could, play to his strengths and whatnot, it is the Ravens. So, I mean, I don't hate it. Like, it makes their defense better. Like I said, moving Marlon Humphreys inside. Like, I just remember when he was inside, forced fumbles every single week. So expect to see that back. Definitely need tackle. The offensive line still isn't good, but Rosengarten, it's a start. It's definitely a start. TJ Tampa, I knew it. I just knew it. Like the Ravens. If you know how the Ravens draft,
yeah.
And you were watching the draft, it was like 15 picks before. I'm like, how is TJ Tampa still up here? I was like, yep, that's a Ravens guy right there. And that's exactly what they did. So I love that pick. I had TJ Tampa way higher than 4th round, the end of the 4th round at that. Like, that was crazy. 6'1", 190. Like, I think TJ Tampa is going to be a great corner in this league. And then getting Devontae Walker.
He is all Raven. Big, athletic, hard hitter, physical, like perfect fit.
Yeah, and Devontae Walker, like it needed a receiver. I feel like the receiving room just isn't there. Like, Zay Flowers is a start, but they still needed to fill a role. Devontae Walker, great deep threat, 6'2", 195, one of the fastest receivers in the class. So it just gives Lamar Jackson extra weapon out there. So yeah, the Ravens had a great draft. I couldn't complain about anything they did. Ravens had a great draft.
So a pick that I'm sure you're excited about is your guy Amarius Mims going in the first, all the way up at 18
Yeah.
to the Cincinnati Bengals. I think that could be a big deal. Could end up being a big deal.
Yeah. It just makes sense because I like this because he doesn't need to play. You know, a lot of people are calling him a project guy because he didn't really play that much in college. They have Trent Brown. They signed Trent Brown this offseason. They got Orlando Brown Jr. On the left side. So Amarius Mims does not need to play this season. He can learn from, I say, some solid tackles in the league. You know, Trent Brown and Orlando Brown aren't slouches whatsoever. So, you know, and they're all the same size. Like they're all both the tackles they already had. They're both 6'8". They're big. They're gonna be the biggest players on the field. Like it was the perfect guy to draft. So, like, look, going forward, like that could be. He could be an all pro tackle. Like I'm definitely, this is one of my favorite tackles in this draft. Yeah, I was a big fan of that pick. You know, because Joe Burrow just hasn't had the line he should, you know, the line he deserves. Then they get Chris Jenkins in the second round. I thought that was all right. Like I wasn't like, oh my goodness, they nailed it. But you know, it was all right. They lost some depth at D tackle. You know, they got it back. And I'll talk about Jermaine Burton. You know, just with the whole T Higgins thing. I was a fan of that. Getting them in the third round. I didn't want the Bengals to go so early on the wide receiver. Third round was good. I think Jermaine Burton it could be solid, especially if T Higgins is still on the team. I think Jermaine Burton can be better than Tyler Boyd and the offense just being even more dynamic. So yeah, like there's not many teams I could say that had bad drafts, especially at the top. Like the Bengals, I would say the Bengals did pretty good. I wasn't really a fan of their second round pick, but definitely loved the first round. Just the first round pick alone, like that pretty much won me over already. So yeah, the Bengals did solid. I wouldn't say great. They did solid just because of their first pick.
I was interested in the Browns because they had, you know, not a lot of firepower to work with. But again, when I evaluate these classes, how many guys did you get who are going to make an impact? And I think Michael Hall Jr. and Zach Zinter could make an impact probably next year. So the fact that you started off in the second, didn't even have a first round pick, and coupled your second and third round pick to get possible impact starters this year, I think they did a great job. What did you think of the Browns draft?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. Michael Hall Jr. He can be pretty good. Like again, the Browns don't really have much needs. Like you can honestly like, oh man, what do they need? They got Myles Garrett. Just having that makes
adding strength to strength because that defense was disgusting last year.
Yeah, it just makes it even easier. I think Michael Hall Jr. was the perfect pick here. Didn't really need much on offense. Don't really need any weapons. I would say like that was the guy they should have went with, and I was a fan of that. You know, especially for a team with no first round pick. I like that. And then Zach Zinter, again, he's playing behind some great guards, and they already have like again what I was saying about a few teams ago. Like contracts start coming up, and you need need a replacement. You're not willing to pay the money. Zach Zinter can fill right in, or even injuries. Like I feel like someone gets hurt and like that. I think he's right. I think he can play all three interior positions: left guard, right guard, and center. So yeah, the Browns had a solid draft, especially for a team with no first, or they didn't have a fourth round pick either. But yeah, the Browns did pretty good.
The team that I think is probably the crown jewel of both divisions that we're talking about tonight, even though I do like the Vikings, like I said, Steelers, man, fucking crushed it. Troy Fountain, offensive tackle. Zach Frazier, guard. Peyton Wilson, one of our favorite linebackers, and Roman Wilson, underrated guy that we mentioned as a wide receiver. You might have four people who are going to make an impact on this roster next year and in these games. I fucking love what the Steelers did, especially contributing to that offensive line like the way they did.
Yeah. Steelers needed some offensive line help. They they got it. They did it in the first round. They drafted a guy that can play guard and tackle. I like that. I'm a big fan of players that are versatile, that can play more than one position. So that was good. Yeah, he played 29 games at left tackle, played 2 games at left guard. Just that right there. Just that's the Steelers kind of guy right there. And then they double down and they get Zach Frazier, who can play. He could play anything interior too. So I think he'll play center for them. But yeah, again, just beefing up the line. They got some quarterbacks that generally need a good or great O line. They got Russell Wilson, who likes to run into sacks. Same thing with Justin Fields, likes to hold on to the ball. So you got quarterbacks like that. You need a line like this that can really hold up and give your quarterback as much time to throw the ball as possible. And then they get Roman Wilson in the 3rd round. I thought he'd be gone by then. I thought he was a second rounder. Like, he's better than a lot of the second rounders that did go. But yeah, I think Roman Wilson was the best available player at this point. And they took him. They finally have another receiver that's not the same. Like, you got George Pickens. He's obviously the best receiver on their team.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the receivers, they're just all vertical guys, like no skill set, no route runners. Like, after they traded Deontay Johnson, like Calvin Austin III, like they kind of had a redundant receiver.
You get a guy like Roman Wilson, who's a technician.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised because you highlighted Peyton Wilson when we talked linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
That is dangerous because now they have explosive, versatile playmakers at every level. They've got TJ Watt on the pass rush. They got Peyton Wilson. Maybe they'll put him on the other side on the pass rush
because he can do that too. Yeah,
because he is big and fast. So maybe that's what it is. And then in the secondary with Minka Fitzpatrick. I think that's, if he pans out, if he lives up to that potential that we talked about, that is dangerous, scary hours for that defense, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the Peyton Wilson pick too. Like, he's just very versatile, like you said. He can play some edge. He can blitz through the middle. He can guard tight ends and slot receivers. Like, and 6'4", like just 6'4", 233. Like, they nailed this draft. Like, they didn't have any bad picks to me. Like, that's for a team, especially with the quarterbacks they got, like, not the best, like the worst quarterbacks in the division, like, I would say. It just makes them better. It makes the 9-8 Steelers better. So,
and they follow, that's following the draft philosophy that I always talk about on here. Like, just get good players,
right?
Get more good players, build a core. The quarterback will come when the quarterback comes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll find that guy when you find him, because they don't grow on trees. So instead of consistently trying to reach for one, just build a good team. And then maybe you won't even need that good of a quarterback in the end.
Right.
Drew, you're here with us, my good brother. Thoughts? What stood out to you? NFC North, AFC North, either one.
Can y'all hear me? I got to double check first because I don't have my headphones. So,
oh yeah, we can hear
you. It's a little different. Okay. All right. Don't have my headphones. Can't locate my headphones today. So, I agree with it. With I caught the tail, which I was saying about the Steelers draft. I thought the Steelers did an amazing job. Kind of pisses me off a little bit. I'm not a Ravens fan, obviously, but
more than the punk ass Steelers, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And first of all, obviously Russell Wilson is playing for the Steelers, who was a Bronco last year, so not entirely happy. But I think they did a great job, and it bothers me that they did such a great job picking players that I believe will help them improve and obviously win going forward. Obviously, Russell Wilson is a quarterback. I don't know how much better they're going to get, but their defense should be absolutely insane. Defense should be absolutely insane, and I'm looking forward to see what they do. I'm, of course, skeptical about any offense where Russell Wilson is leading it. So I'm not going to give that too much credit, but I think they did a really good job of putting together even more pieces for a squad that was already decent enough. You know what I mean? Like the Steelers were already pretty good. I think they were 9-8 last year, right? 9-8. Uh, have a chance to possibly get 10, 11 wins. Hope not. But I really, really like the my personal favorite pick out of the Steelers draft. I like the Roman Wilson pick.
Yeah.
I do. You know, I think the one thing that the Steelers are going to need, they're going to need receivers. To really, I don't mean to be this way, but to kind of cover up some of those Russell Wilson mishaps. And I think he could possibly be someone that could help with that. But that's kind of, I think everybody else that they picked, that kind of, I feel good about most of those picks too. Obviously the Peyton Wilson pick mentioned. But for me, Roman Wilson, that was the one that stuck out. Don't want to spend too much time real quick on the Steelers. The Bengals, thought the Bengals did cool too. Bengals did cool too. I I'd say, to me, out of everybody, they probably are like the third, had the third best draft in the division. Um, I thought, I don't know how Tay's gonna feel about this. I thought the Ravens did a really good job considering the little bit, kind of a little bit that I had been paying attention to what they were doing this offseason. I thought
Oh
they
yeah,
did a pretty good job.
They
we
had the
did the
best
Ravens a
draft.
little bit before you got on, and yeah, we said they had a great
They
draft.
had
Yeah.
the best draft.
And so I like obviously Nate Wiggins, great, absolute great pick. Um, I'm doing all this off the top of my head, so
Yeah.
names are escaping me right now. I think they got Rasheen Ali, right? I think they got Rasheen Ali. Then it was like fifth
Yep.
round. I think that was a fifth round
Yep.
thing. And yeah, like they did a really good job, man. I think they did a really, really good job. And like I said in the last week, I like to withhold my full judgment until we see. But on paper, Ravens did a great job. Um, for personal reasons, I hold the the Browns draft a little bit higher, especially that pick in the second round. Actually, that pick in the second round. But nah, I think they did a good job with what they could. I mean, obviously you don't have a first rounder, so you got to do what you got to do. And I think the Browns did a good job. I'm not. I gotta go back because, like I said, it's been a couple weeks now since the
Oh yeah, I see that. Is there something we don't know about? Is there a woman in your past, possibly?
uh, but no. So I absolutely think, yes, I like what the Browns did, considering not having a first round. I like, obviously, I said with the Ravens. I thought they said the Bengals did okay. I think the Bengals did okay. I'd say the Bengals and the Browns are kind of like neck and neck for that third last spot in terms of who had the better draft. And like I said, we're doing the
Yeah.
NFC
Who?
North as
Bears,
well.
Vikings, Lions, Packers. Who stood out to you? I think both me and Tay, we like the Bears and the Vikings. What they did, Vikings got a top quarterback prospect and a top pass rusher. Bears got a top wide receiver and a top quarterback. Can't be mad at either one.
Yeah, no, obviously with the Bears, obviously them taking Caleb Williams, obviously that's the most notable thing that happened in the entire draft in terms of like at the top 10. I think you know I think the Bears taking Caleb Williams, that's obviously that was expected. Um, JJ McCarthy, I'm interested to see what he can do with the Vikings. Really interested in that. I think we discussed it a couple weeks ago. I think like 3 or 4 weeks ago now. We started talking about kind of those top picks and who's going to get who, and kind of doing our mock draft and just seeing who's going to go where. It's an interesting pick though. The Vikings are in a very interesting place as a team. So really interested to see what they do. I thought the see the Packers. What did the Packers do? God, I can't. I gotta go back. Packers. I know they
Packers
got. I
picked up
think they got my
Jordan.
guy from Texas. They got my guy from Texas A&M.
Yeah, Adrian Cooper.
My
Yep.
guy Cooper. Yeah, got my guy Cooper. Yeah, and I thought that's a really good pickup. I think Marshawn Lloyd is a pretty solid pickup from USC. Um, yeah, I think the Packers had a decent draft. I think most people that I've talked to are kind of sleeping on the first. To me, sleeping on the Vikings' top two picks a little bit. I think those
Okay.
were very prominent picks for their future.
Yeah.
We'll see what JJ McCarthy becomes, but we spoke about Dallas Turner when we were doing our, looking at our linebackers and stuff like that too. So
Oh, and that's what we
I like
said.
Dallas
It's
Turner.
it's kind of similar to, obviously the two players aren't quite the same caliber, but it's kind of similar to what the Texans did, right? You managed to snag
Yeah,
your quarterback and your top pass rusher in the same draft class, and it turned them around in 1 year. And the
yep.
Vikings roster is 10 times better than what the Texans roster looked like it was last offseason. So I think that could end up being huge if both those guys pan out.
Now I say about the Lions, decent draft, pretty decent draft. I don't have
So it's both good and
anything.
bad, right? Because they're
Yeah,
top
it's
ranked,
just
they're top
yeah.
ranked players at the position you needed, but putting two rookie corners out there is also asking for a lot of trouble. So
And Detroit needed to kind of bolster their defense, obviously, as we saw
yeah,
some of their issues this year. So I don't, like I said, on paper, these are good players, but you're asking a lot of rookies. You're
you're
asking
asking
a
a
lot of
lot.
rookies, to go against. I mean, come on, man. Some of the players that they're going to face, you're asking a lot of them, and I don't know. I still think, like I said, all things considered, Detroit had a decent draft. I don't know how much this helps them improve, but they did go pretty far last year. So maybe they felt like they didn't need a whole lot more. But I don't know, man. I don't know. But I think the consensus to me, obviously, I think the Bears, in terms of the NFC North, they have what many people. I didn't get to hear what Tay said, obviously, about the Bears on his part, but I know he said something about Caleb Williams because he's many times in our chat said
Yeah.
good
Oh
things
yeah.
about Caleb Williams and on his show. So I think looking at it, I would go with the Bears in terms of you know, the thing that jumped out to me the most from the NFC North is obviously what the Bears did. I just they took two solid prospects. Like I said, I'm not entirely 100% on the Caleb Williams bandwagon, but I thought at first couple picks they could be two game changers, right? Two game changers, but they already have good players on offense already, right? Really strong players on offense already. Caleb Williams is entering a situation where really you got on both sides, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got every the pieces are
No
there for you to
excuses.
succeed.
Yep.
What are you gonna do with it? So I really like what the Bears did. They're setting themselves up for the future. I was a Justin Fields fan to an extent, but I guess that experiment didn't work out for them, which will make also, I guess we'll see how that goes where he landed, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, all in all, man, I think I think I'd give it to the Bears. I think, like I said, Steelers and Ravens to me were very close in the AFC North in terms of who had the best draft. I think the Bears kind of completely had the best draft in terms of setting themselves up for what you need out of a rookie. You're setting yourself up for your franchise quarterback, another weapon that he could throw to as well, and you already have a shit ton of weapons, and you got solid pieces all around. So I like what the Bears did. Like I said, the teams that just kind of threw me off a little bit in the NFC, Detroit, decent draft, but not. It just didn't feel strong enough. And once again, I don't know if they felt like because they made it as far as they did that they didn't need to do a whole lot. And the Packers, maybe the same thing, right? Could be kind of the same thing. You don't feel like you need, and they still had some decent picks too. It's just, I think once you have some success, you feel like we don't need too much. I know Packers got my guy Cooper. They got, I think, Jordan Morgan and Marshawn Lloyd, a couple other guys that will help. But
it's interesting in such a deep receiver class that they didn't come away with one out of the top 2 rounds to help that young quarterback.
Man, they need Jordan Love need even more weapons, man. He needs even more weapons. He needs precise weapons. But like I said, that's another reason why I'm not 100% on the bandwagon of what they did for the draft. But I mean, I guess, like I said, I really believe that a lot of teams go into this draft is how can we bolster our roster? Like build it up a little bit more instead of having a roster that's gonna, drafting guys that could completely change the complexity of your franchise. Which I felt like you got that with the Bears, and the Vikings in some way could also, you could see the Vikings also kind of trying to do the same thing as well. So those are the 2 that stuck out the most. But we'll see. This pack. I think these 2 are the 2 divisions this year that'll be the most captivating to watch who comes out. So
we were talking about it. I think both NFC North and AFC North have 4 teams that you wouldn't be that surprised to see win 10 games. Very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. I love it. We need that competitiveness, man. That competitiveness for these divisions, because for a long time, the Lions are the laughingstock of the NFL, really, and they've done a complete 180 recently. So hopefully they can keep it up. And so they looked good last year. I don't know how they're gonna look this year, but
it looks good on them. It looks good on you, Detroit. Yeah. We are out here trying to win this media content creation division. We got a lot of good things going for our future as well. Here on United Football Media, we're still doing 4 drops a week for a little while longer. We got United Football Media. Tell me about it on Mondays. Check out the United Football Media YouTube page. You actually might see yours truly on a second show there this week. It was all kinds of silly stuff. I'll tell you the story on Saturday, True. We got our NBA hooping and hollering. That's as good as ever right now because of the playoffs. A lot of spicy stuff going on there. So check out our NBA pod. We got, of course, Football Fridays. This is what you're listening to right now. And me and True, and who knows who's going to stop by on any given week on the Week in Wrestling. 7-Eleven, we're always open. All of this now can be found on this glorious YouTube page we finally have here for DAR Sports Media. Please subscribe if you like it so you get notifications whenever we push up the new videos. We went over to YouTube to make it easier for you, the consumer, to access us anywhere, anytime, any way that you want to. So please throw us a sub. Let's keep this thing rolling, growing with us. And Tay loves comments, so jump in those comments if you feel any type of way about our evals of the NFC North and AFC North draft classes. As you can tell from that mouthful, the world of DAR never stops.
Come on, spill the tea. Yeah. Ooh. All right. Woo. This is light work.